on the conference floor of PDAC, a major mining conference here in Toronto. I'm joined by Thomas Abraham James, who leads a company called Pulsar Helium. I thought it'd be great, Tom, if we could start with a couple things that investors may want to know before we talk about some details. We've got the flagship Topaz project in Minnesota for Pulsar, but helium, what is it and what is it used for? Why do we care about this metal?
The commodity that we never thought we were so reliant upon, I guess is how we could frame it. So everyone thinks party balloons to start with.
That's the first thing I thought of.
And it is a fun application of helium, but it accounts for about 3% of market share. And is a bit of a waste of what is a very valuable and critical element. So really it's for the tech sector. So what do you want to keep really cold without it freezing and without it being non-combustible? So we see it for the fabrication of semiconductors. We see it for superconducting magnets in MRI scanners, cooling for reactors and data centers, making fiber optic cables. So it's all heavily geared towards the tech industry.
So the Topaz project, tell us a little bit more about it and what's the key thing you want investors to know that's current for the project.
As a company, what we do is we look for helium, which is naturally occurring in the ground, so in reservoirs, just like oil and gas, except there's no oil and gas. We've got helium, so helium is the primary economic driver of the project. So in the industry, helium is typically a byproduct of natural gas, but we've had a shortage now for about a decade, and so what that's necessitated is this new industry that we're in, Pulsar, and that is finding standalone helium occurrences, which could try and bring some balance back to what is a commodity that's been suffering from short supply for a decade now. So for our Topaz project, we have found such a helium occurrence there. We've drilled that, and what we found is the highest concentration helium in North America. So helium could be thought a bit like, say, gold or another commodity where grade is important, whereas say with natural gas or oil, it's either there or it's not. But for helium, grade is important, and we've made a tremendous discovery there, and we're the first mover in Minnesota.
Tell us more about the discovery. You just talked about grade. What kind of numbers are you seeing?
So we're seeing up to 14.5%, and what does that mean in an industry where anything that's really about 0.5% or higher is deemed to be of potential economic significance. So to reach double digits is quite something. I'm very happy with that result. And it's a brand new discovery, and we drilled it for the first time last year, proved that it exists, and we've been quite busy this year by drilling. We deepened that well we drilled last year, and we've drilled a second step-out well also.
So what is coming up next for the company? You know, we're at PDAC together right now. What are you telling investors who want to understand what kind of things they can expect in terms of timing-wise as well?
Yep, we've got quite a strong news flow coming up. So we've just completed the drill program. Just the other day, we finished the second round of testing of the wells. So that will give us important information about reservoir characteristics and so on. And then later this month, we do what is a flow test. And what that is how vigorously does the gas come out of the ground. And that multiplied by the grade could tell you what the potential is for helium production. So once we have that data, then we'll go off and do a resource update. And then we'll be looking at our first preliminary economic assessment. So we can talk to the market for the first time about the economic scenarios. Are we ready for production now? If not, what else is required in order to reach that milestone?
That's going to be a pretty major piece of news coming out.
Yeah, it really is quite an exciting time.
We hear about, being a gold bug. Are you a gold bug? You don't hear, are you a helium bug? Again, just to kind of tie back to where we started, we understand a little bit more about its use, application, but why else, look at this metal beyond the fact that we need it and that there's a shortage? What other reasons would you say there are?
It is very important for the technology we all rely upon, increasingly so. New developments. It's quite exciting. There's probably a week that doesn't go by where we don't hear about some new application for helium, particularly at the moment. It's all about data centers. So really, without that, whilst it's not like the largest component of this technology, it's essential because it can't be replaced. The other thing is that to have it in the USA is important too, because it's the world's largest consumer of helium. And helium is notorious for not wanting to be transported long distances. We go back to the party balloons, right? So after a few days, there it is shriveled up on the floor. And that's because helium is such a small atomic size, it likes to leak through everything. So if you imagine shipping it from the other side of the world, then by the time it's arrived at its destination, there's probably a very good chance that a portion of that has disappeared, yet the customer has paid for 100% of it. So whilst it's in short supply, geography is very important too.
Just a quick follow-up, and before you go, with the new administration being quite focused on securing minerals and energy, or rather resources in the country, I imagine that's a great backdrop for a company like yours. What kind of support have you been getting, or has it been growing already?
Yeah, it's been actually a very good, since we've been operating there, we've got a very good relationship with all spectrum of politics. It's really been supported because of the shortage of it, because it's quite exciting for the local community. It's a potential to diversify their economy, attract new businesses as well. Last year, the state of Minnesota actually put in force new gas regulations, legislation I should say, for helium, that includes helium amongst other gases. And so really that's on the back of the work that Pulsar has been doing. So to see that new legislation so quickly, it gives a great deal of comfort.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, look, it's irrespective of administrations, it really has been a very warm welcome and well supported.
Well, we'll keep watching. Thank you again, Tom, for being here.
Thank you for having me.